Good morning. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning, Christmas Eve day. How are you, Judy, this morning?
I'm good, and I'm looking in the video here. It's a little bit foggy, so I think we might have a foggy Christmas Eve here. I can barely see the palm trees.
You know what? I just noticed that. You're absolutely right. But
Little
I
bit
will tell
foggy.
you that you do have that Christmassy spirit. I see a lit up tree in the back. I see your blanket there. It's like
Yep,
you're ready.
we are ready. We got the hot cocoa ready to go, and all the good food brewing. It's going to be awesome.
That's very cool. And folks, if you're just joining us, welcome to a very special edition today, a Christmas Eve edition, Money Truth Moments with our very own Money Truth Christmassy whisperer, right? I don't know, making things up now. I'm in that mode. Our very own Judy Kopenbarger. Um, we today it's just we talked about this last week, and if you haven't followed Judy, please do so at judykopenbarger.today. We talked about great ways to how to be very money conscious when it comes to spending during Christmas time, so you don't break the bank. So make sure you guys please watch the previous episodes. But today's all going to be like every other episode, right? We always have fun. We always have great questions, but we're going to go old school today, right? We're going to talk about Christmas Eve cheer. We're going to talk about celebrating tradition and creating memories, right? We created great memories here in the show. We've created great content that has served a lot of people as well, and it's a good way to for us to just really start off today. So, what do you say we have some fun and get started?
Let's do it. And we're not talking about money today, right? Not necessarily.
It'll work its way someday. There's a finance lesson here, folks. Remember that. There's always a finance lesson, but this is going to be more, I think, more of a personal episode of talking about traditions. So
Beautiful.
let me ask you this right out of the gate: what are some of your favorite Christmas traditions from your childhood?
Oh, wow. Well, a lot of the typical things, in the morning you have the stockings, and back then it was like the sticky hard candies and orange and maybe some walnuts. Now it's a lot more fun and practical.
Right.
So that's always, a tradition. I think a lot of people kind of do that whole thing. Christmas Eve is really fun for us. That's a special time where there's no time. We usually just kind of snack. There's all kinds of food this time of year. So we're kind of snacking on the cheeses and the meats and the goodies and bakery items, whatever. Um, and then we just sit around, whether it's candles or a real fire, depending on, the weather. We just enjoy hanging out. A lot of times, Larry will get out the Bible and read the Christmas story, which is kind
Mhm.
of fun and refreshing. Um, it's going to be different. This is our first year as grandparents. So now you have all the chaos of little ones, and there'll be next year we'll have at least a couple. Um, and so, it's back to those years of busyness. But I'll tell you, the last 10 years or so with adult children that just are world changers, it has been so fun just to spend Christmas Eve reflecting on the year that's been had, the year that's coming up, and just be together. We don't have to do anything. There's no agenda. We'll usually open one gift each, and it's usually like, pajamas or a family game, something practical for the evening that we
Mhm.
enjoy together. Um, but that's kind of it. It's just a lot of downtime and connecting. How about you guys? What's your Christmas Eve like?
So I will tell you that when I was thinking about this with these questions about my childhood, and I kind of remember bits and pieces of always going to like maybe sometimes we would host it at our place, but I will always remember that it was always turkey, right? We always had like a big turkey on there. That was the big thing on there. I remember also that sometimes going to my aunt's house where we used to light up fireworks, and so that
Oh,
was kind of fun,
wow.
which was fun. And I remember that, like, so, and this is the funny part. I love my aunt to death. She's still around. So she was married. My uncle was German, so they did a lot of German food during the holidays. And I remember that it was like, okay, we're going to your aunt's for this year, and it's like, but aunt cooks German food. We don't like German food. We want turkey. You know what I mean? Like the tradition stuff. I don't know why that popped in my head today, but I was like, God, I remember that. Like it was just
Mhm.
yesterday too. So it was good times just trying to open up presents. But for us, it was Christmas was always very special. But for the family, it was always Christmas Eve. That's when we did the big shindig. And
Mm.
usually Christmas as a kid, we would have either cousins come over or we would go to cousins' houses, exchange gifts and stuff like that. But a lot of good fun memories, for sure. Wish I could remember more, but that was some fun times.
You're talking about tradition. See, even as a child, you knew that Christmas Eve was turkey. That's the
Yeah,
tradition. And when you break tradition, you didn't like it.
right.
There's
I knew
something
better.
about what's comfortable and convenient and expected. There's something about that. Traditions are just great. They're great.
Mhm. So, what's one special memory that stands out to you in these past Christmas Eves? Just a good memory for what? Just pick one. I know you have many, but something that just boom, you say Christmas Eve and it stands out.
I think it's the little candle thing we do. We do it around a lot of holidays, sometimes at birthdays, and we'll have, I like candles, so there's always candles on the table and going. But you take one candle, and whoever has the candle gets to speak, and everybody else is listening. They're in listening
Mhm.
mode. And so whoever has like, well, give me that candle. I got something to say. And then we pass it all the way around the table, and everybody gets a chance to be heard, which I think is important. Um, and to share whatever it is. So we might have a question about, what's been, the coolest thing that happened in your life this year. What is the greatest impact that you've had on the life of another person this year? And how was that for you? What are your expectations for the next week or the next year? And so we like to do this like kind of like candle, pass the candle talk. There's not really a word for it. It's just like get the candle. It's time to share. Sometimes we'll use it if we're celebrating a birthday to everyone to say some things that they have to or about the person who we're celebrating that day. Or it's a graduation, whatever it is. Maybe it's a couple anniversary. But whoever's got the candle gets to share whatever the subject matter is. So those are probably some of the best memories. I don't have like one in mind other than my mom. Every year she cries a little bit, and that's the only time we ever see her really get present. When she's got the candle, she gets real present to her gratitude, which is really
That's
kind of, yeah.
and that's an awesome tradition. So, folks, take notes. You may think of things to do and all that. So these are perfect, simple examples of just how to be very grateful around this time of year as well too. So let me ask you this also. So how have your holiday traditions evolved over the years? I know that when we're kids, it's one way we do things. When we start dating, it's another way to do it. When we get married, things change as well. But what would you say? How have you looked at this? Like, if you remember from childhood to when you were dating to when you got married to Larry, like how has some of these traditions carried on? Have they changed?
Yeah, I think like a lot of families, when you don't have children yet, that seems to be the big line. When you have your own kids and when you don't, right? So when you don't have your own kids yet, you can kind of do dinner over here and lunch over there and Christmas Eve over here, and you can kind of spread yourself around. When we started having children, I think like a lot of families, it's like we want to have our own traditions now in our home, Christmas morning, what that looks like, the things that we do, and then work all the other stuff around that. So now, as parents of adult children that are growing their families, it's the same thing. So there's more planning into the scheduling of it. And we're just kind of like the caulking, like fill in the gaps. So, because we're flexible. And some of them, they want to have their special time with other in laws or grandparents on the other side and their children's own, expectations. So I think it's more about planning to be available now. So it's like, we're going to be here doing this. Tell us where to be. If there's something that's important for us to be part of, let us know. And you have to do that ahead of time. You can't do it like today. Right. So for weeks, we've known who's going to be where, all the kid with 5 of them and all of their, things. Um, who's going to be where, what the expectations are. So you don't miss an expectation and you're disappointed. I thought they were coming. Oh, well, I thought they were coming. So everybody knows who's going to be where, when, and then you plan around that and just make the time that you have special. I think that's the big evolution for us.
Mhm. So I'm thinking as you're talking about this too. So I'm going back to childhood, right? And we talked a little bit about the food or traditions, but do you remember a very like special gift that you got as a kid? Like something that that stood out for you is like, man, that was like the best gift I ever got as a kid. I'm taking you way back here, so I'm going back there too.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was 7, I got a oh, and I wanted it so badly. And it seems like I wanted it all year long, but it might have been 2 weeks. You know, when you're a kid, it's like
Right.
forever. Um, I wanted to have a ventriloquist doll. Mortimer Snurd was the one, with the big glasses and the,
Yeah.
with the suit. And I got it, and I just was so proud that I was, a ventriloquist with my little doll. And I think the only other gift that really stands out to me was when we were the summer between 8th and ninth grade, getting ready for high school, we moved across the country to Colorado. And I thought, well, I need to learn how to ski, right? Well, my friends thought I needed to learn how to ski. I'd never really been in the snow. Maybe once I saw snow. And now we're in it. Like, 10,000 elevation, we're in it in the Continental Divide. And so everybody there grew up skiing. That's what they did for PE class. And so my friends and my athletic friends, I was in athletics. They said, "You're going to ski, and this is how we do it." They showed me how to get up, how to make a turn, and then we went to the top of the mountain. And so I learned really fast. Um, but I thought this is something I really need to do. And so I got skis for Christmas that year. And that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. So I could be in, and have the tool I needed and not borrow. So that was a pretty special Christmas too. How about you? Does anything stand out from your gifts that you received?
Actually, I remember and I don't remember what age I was, but I remember being little. Do you remember back then, Pan Am,
Oh
the
yeah,
plane
yeah, yeah. Mhm,
airline? So that's how we used to come and visit my uncles here in the States, was through Pan Am. And I remember they would give you the little wings, and they would give you all these as a
mhm.
kid. They would give you some of that. But I remember getting my first Pan Am plane that actually lit up. It had like a little red light on there or something. That was like really cool, right? It's probably really cheesy or whatever, but I can think back. But I will tell you that the best gift I ever got, I actually got a pet chicken. So my parents, I don't know how I wound up with the pet chicken,
Oh.
but it was like this chicken was like everything to me. So I would walk it around with the little string on the leg, like they would find me sleeping with it, when I went to bed. So
Oh.
that's like the best memory I can remember of my first pet ever was having that chicken, and we had parrots too. But that chicken was just like everything to me. And I've been trying to rack my brain, like thinking, what did we call her? But I can vividly see her. She's very young, very like brownish red and stuff. But that was like the best time ever, man. Walking around with this chicken, I was like so proud. And then I got
I
a, yeah.
love that. What a great
So
gift and a companion, and you know how
right,
I love chicken, so that touches my
thanks for
heart.
bringing that up. Yeah, because you can relate to this. You know,
I get it. Yeah, my
yeah,
best friend when I was about 14 was a goat named Betsy, and she had
really.
horns, and I cut the hat with holes so she could wear a hat over her horns, and she followed me. She thought she was a dog. She followed me everywhere. We'd go hiking up in the mountains and all around town, and this goat would just follow me. Come on, Betsy. Come on, Betsy. So she was my buddy for a few years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing how animals can just be so special companions, and what a great gift. So,
Yeah.
was she a little tiny chick when you got her, or was she already
No,
adult?
she was a youngster because she wasn't
Okay.
full blown. But she wasn't really little, so she was more like just a hair smaller than a medium sized chicken.
Okay, not a
That's what I
little
would.
bullet. So she had
Yeah.
feathers already.
Oh yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Ah,
She
that's
was on
great.
she was on her own, very independent. I remember. So
Yeah, people ask me all the time here, "Do you name your chickens? Because there's so many." I say, "Yeah, like, I name them Chicken." Most of them are named Chicken. "Come here, Chicken." And they
that's
come.
awesome.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Let me ask you, you've been involved in so many great things, community projects, giving back
Mhm.
to a lot of organizations over the years. This has been part of your legacy, right?
Yeah.
Are there any community or cultural traditions that you've been involved in that stood out for you that have been very meaningful?
Anytime you get to volunteer, and sometimes it's formal, you're on a food line at Thanksgiving, or you're doing something Christmas morning, or you're packing the boxes that go across the country to kids that don't have enough toys, all those things that you do that are organized. But the last several years, we've done, I wouldn't say we're disorganized, but we've done things a little bit less formally. And I like to go on the app next door, kind of see what's going on in the community. And there's always somebody to help. Here's a young mom. Here's a family in need. They're having a rough time. These people lost their home. These people just moved here and don't know anybody and they don't have any money yet. Here's a veteran who's now out of rehab from their medical issues. And now they're in their first apartment and they don't have anything. So I like to help informally with the community, just kind of in my backyard with things like that. They need a refrigerator. They need some food in the refrigerator. They need clothes. They need baby things. I like to do that and do what I can. And sometimes it's things I already have, and other times I'll just go out and, make it happen for them. So I think the holidays is a time where you think about other people. We think about giving, and it's kind of an expression of connection and love and all that. I like to do things like that, just kind of one-on-one. We're doing formal things around the world with some of the ministries that we work with and our, causes that we care about. But I like helping people in my backyard, or come on over if you need something, come on over and I've got it, come pick it up. So I would say that's something anybody can do. Everybody can help, in their own way. Maybe if you're into sports, help a local sports team, find out who the coach is and what do they need for their team, buy them pizza, anything, right? Maybe they just need extra people to help them coach, count the bases or put the lines down on the soccer field, whatever it is. There's always some way that you can have an impact and make a difference. And this is the time of year where we like to think about those things.
And it's awesome too. I'm glad you brought that up. That we talked about it in previous shows as well too. Is that, folks, if you know somebody who's lonely, during this time of year, it's hard for a lot of folks too. And a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but the reality is there is a lot of folks who it's not so much of a joyous time of year,
Yeah.
So I think it's also, like you're saying, it's also our responsibility to reach out to these folks. I mean, you think about also, and I'll go here on a side note for our veterans, right? Our military folks who don't get a chance to come home and all that. And sometimes we take things like that for granted, that we need to make sure that we're helping everybody that we possibly can, during this time as well. So
Yeah, it's a good time of year to do that, for sure.
yeah. Okay, so I'm going to give you one very quick question, just because we're getting towards the end of the show, and this should be we should have done this like an hour show, right? So we could talk about it forever. So quickly tell us, what are some tips that you have that you can share with us for creating traditions that include everyone, from kids to grandparents?
Well, I think that one with the candle is probably good. Anybody can do it. Even a child can, have share time and be heard and, be front and center for a moment or two. I think if you think of the areas of the holiday that happen every year, you can build a tradition around that. So you might think around food, around the table. Is there a tradition? Is there something about the decorations that could be a tradition? We have our stockings hung by the chimney with care. That's just something we always do. We don't always put things in them now. Well, we probably will now with grandbabies, right? But there's a tradition. There's always a little something on the mantle, the garland, the wreath, things like that. So it could be about your decoration. It could be around gift giving. Another thing that we do, we like to play games. And so every year we've been playing left, center, right, where you throw the dice and left, center, right. Somebody ends up with all the quarters or the dollar bills or whatever at the end. And that's kind of a fun thing that we do. It gets really rowdy and competitive, but it really is just chance. Who wins is just chance. So that's fun. So if you think about an area of life, and this can be the challenge for this week too, right? If you think about an area of life around the holidays that you want to create a tradition, and just do it and just say, here's what we do now. And now it becomes a tradition.
That's awesome. And folks, we are at the end of the show, and although this is a very fun show, doesn't mean that you guys will not have a Money Truth Challenge.
A challenge.
A challenge.
And it does have loosely something to do with money. And the challenge is you can't spend any money doing it. That's the challenge. And what it is creating a new tradition. So if you think of something that you did last year and you repeat it this year, it's a tradition, right? Every year, this is what we do. You're setting the expectation. You now have a new tradition in one area of Christmas time. That's your challenge.
Awesome. You've heard the challenge, folks. a Merry Christmas to you guys. Remember, we are here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. with the replays on Thursdays at 8 p.m. And if you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.today. Share
And
today's.
we
Hey,
have
who
a
do we
special
have here?
guest to
All
wish you
right.
Christmas.
How are
Merry
you,
Christmas.
Larry?
I'm well. Carlos, how are you?
Good. Doing great. Thank you. Folks, if you've never met Larry, here's Larry. This is who Judy talks about. That's Larry.
All the stories. This is
Yeah,
the guy.
exactly.
Well, you all have a Merry Christmas.
You too, folks. And if you're just joining us, remember, watch the episode from the beginning. It's a jam-packed episode with a lot of great things. Watch the previous episodes from last week and gives you guys a little bit better spending plan. And I'm looking forward to next Tuesday because we get to actually do one last show before we wrap up the year. And it's going to be a great show, folks. We're going to be looking back at 2024, some great options and all that. And hopefully maybe we get Larry to join us as well, too. So.
And watch out for that wild mistletoe.
Oh.
There you go. And it's live and everybody got to see it. So, all right, folks, until next time, any last parting words, Judy?
No, just make it a great, great Christmas and the best one ever.
Awesome. See you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.